Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to give you guys an update on the summer perennial border I've been planting up here and see how it's doing. Hopefully you can hear me, it's very noisy, quite windy at the moment, and there's a road nearby, but I'll do my best to speak up. So you can see here, this is the bed that I planted up earlier, a circular bed. It's looking quite good now. It was absolutely covered in weeds a couple of weeks ago because I wasn't really able to weed it too often. I'm only here probably about once a month or so, but I weeded that last week and it stayed quite clear. You can see actually all the plants pretty much came up. I think some of the anemones at the front here didn't quite make it. There seems to be a bit of a gap here at the front, but apart from that I think it's been pretty successful so far. Now the anemones should be flowering by now. They're normally kind of May, June flowering, but I think because I planted these in March, it was a little bit late for them. If I had planted them maybe January, February, they should hopefully have been flowering by now, but they're certainly going to flower in the next week or two. You can see here, for example, a big fat bud on that one. This one here, the bud's just burst and it's just about to open up, so they're going to flower soon. That'll probably flower almost at the same time as the lilies. And you can see the lilies here, they have actually grown a lot taller than I was expecting. I did expect them to be one of the taller plants, which is why I put them towards the middle, but even then they have become quite tall. But that's about the maximum height they're going to get. They might maybe grow another 10-15 centimeters, but that's all. And the reason I know that is because you can see the flower buds just starting to come there. Once the flower buds appear, you know it's not going to stretch up too much higher, and that's going to be close to the final height of the plant. So it'll be nice to see them flowering soon. I've also got an extra lily I'm going to put in. Basically what I'm doing is I'm planting up this bed with summer bedding, which I'll show you in another video. I'll put the link on the iCard, should be just up here in the top right corner. And basically I've bought some plants for them. It was kind of like a 3 for 2 deal, so I got a plant really cheap. But I didn't need it for this bed, so I went for a lily. This will be very similar to these, just a little bit smaller, so I'll probably put it in that space in the middle back there, because the Hypericum's been a bit slow to grow, so there's a bit of a gap there. I'll probably pop it in there, or I might just pop it in this section here. So going along, looking at other plants, the Hypericum, to say, has been a bit slow to resprout. It was a really hard prune. It's probably a bit slow because I pruned it kind of March time. If I had pruned this a bit earlier, it might have responded a bit faster. But you can see it's absolutely covered in new shoots. All the old stems as well have burst into new growth. So it's doing quite well. It will take a little bit to get into a decent size, but it has been quite cold this year so far. Certainly May and June have been really cold when you'd expect this to start growing. So the growth's been a bit slow, but it should hopefully speed up in the next few weeks. Now it's June, hopefully we'll get some warm weather soon and it'll grow a bit faster. And this will flower probably July time. As I say, it's a bit delayed because of the hard prune. The other plants have done okay. They were, as I say, March, April was very warm. It was unusually warm. Then May and June have been a bit colder than average, so it's been a bit of a mixed spring really. But they've all done quite well. It was rather dry at the beginning of the year, but now we've had loads of rain. The rain's really helped them grow, so everything's doing okay. You can see these two plants are actually a variety of bedding plants that I had. Where they've come from is I actually used a lot of compost in this bed to improve it. And the compost I used was from my balcony, and the balcony plant pots, they must have had some seeds still in from this variety. This was a chrysanth snowland, I think was the variety. It was a chrysanth. Basically it's an annual bedding chrysanthemum, and this variety was snowland. Always produced a lot of seeds. They must have got stuck in the compost, so I've left them. I weeded out all the other weeds, but I've left them, so they're going to look quite nice, and they should just give a bit of extra colour. I was thinking of moving them, but I've just left them where they are. I might move them later on, because we're so close to the Hypericum, so close to the Litaterus, that it might need to be moved. Now the Litaterus, you can see it's growing up. It's been kind of hit and miss with them. Some of them have really been quite stunted. I'm not sure why. You can see this one here. It's really far behind, but then you've got other ones like this which are really quite far ahead and looking nice. They'll just continue pretty much looking like grass for the next month or two until probably June or August, and then they'll start flowering with the pink frilly flowers. They'll look quite nice in late summer. Going around here we've got the gladioli towards the middle. These will get quite large come late summer. They'll probably grow quite a bit taller than the lilies back there. Probably grow up probably about 2 foot or so, maybe 3 foot if the summer's been really good. And they'll give a really nice display quite late in the year, probably August, September time. I find here in Scotland they are a bit later than where they are elsewhere. Normally with gladioli, they say it takes about 3 months or about 90 days for the plant to bloom once it's been put in the soil. But I find here in Scotland it takes a little bit longer, maybe 3.5 months, maybe 4 months, just because the weather's a bit colder. So that should be quite a nice late flowering. They should come into flower about the same time as the Litatrus, or a little bit later, so that will extend the season a little bit. Going around here, these will be in flower in the next week or two, the lilies and the anemones. So we should be having flowers in the next week or two, right through until probably October. September, it depends. If we have some early frost or if it's a really hot summer, then the season will finish a little bit earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this one last weed. There's not too many weeds at the moment, but I want to give it as much as I can, and then I'm going to cover this in bark, and that will help suppress any more weeds that might be trying to germinate. I need to be careful to get rid of all this grass if I can, because it will regrow from the roots. It's going to grow through the bark quite easily, so I'll try and give it as most of that as I can. Unfortunately it will regrow, there's nothing I can really do about that. So I'll cover this with the bark. I'm not sure if I've got enough bags, but we'll see how far I go with it anyway. I've got 2 bags, hopefully that'll cover most of it. So that's all mulched up now. That should keep a lot of the weeds at bay. There might be some perennial grasses that try and still come up, but that should get rid of most of them anyway. There shouldn't be too much perennial grass coming up, and I should hopefully be able to weed out the small amounts that do. But it'll stop any wind-blown seeds coming up, and any small seeds that are already in there. If they're quite small annual weeds, they shouldn't be able to get through the bark. So that's up for that update. I'll give you guys an update on this central bed probably in about a month's time. The lilies should be flowering by then. Also the anemones here should also be flowering, as they're just about to flower probably the next week or so. And the chrysanthemum snowlands, they will be a lot bigger and they'll have a lot more flowers in them as well. You can see they're just coming through now, already flowering. These flower from quite a young age, and these keep flowering pretty much the whole summer into autumn, especially if I keep deadheading them. I'll give another update in about a month's time.